Take that chopper down.
Welcome to Up on the Bars Discussion with your host, Roy Bain.
Well, a bit of a different host today as Stephen Blakesley joining you here from North Highlands, California, along with Roy Bain, who is home today in Klamath Falls, Oregon. And Roy, the first question we have to ask you is there snow on the ground?
It has been snowing. They just put the chain laws up on Highway 58 on the way back to Portland, and they're calling for 14 to 25 inches of snow on the mountain passes tonight.
Well, that sounds like a good time.
Not.
Right. Well, the reason we're getting together here today on all of our Facebook pages and on Twitter and YouTube is, in all honesty, this was really the first big racing weekend of the year for the West Coast. And I know for you, it's probably hard to believe up there with the snow on the ground, but we did pull off quite a few races over the weekend, Roy.
Well, and everybody was sitting there watching them fold. We were supposed to race this past weekend with the Tri-State Pro Stocks, and Tony said there was no way he could get it done with what he was doing. And we've seen Bakersfield pop up there. Scott Schweitzer was standing in knee-deep water yesterday on the racetrack with power lines blown down, and it was kind of waiting to see who was going to get the race. I think everybody was holding their breath, waiting for the winter to be over, and we didn't know where it was going from there.
Well, it worked out for about 7 different venues over the weekend, and a lot of great racing. I got to my first race of the year out there at Madera Speedway, and I don't know what you were doing at 11 years old, Roy, but these kids, they're racing late models at 11 years old.
I was riding dirt bikes out on the farm in New Mexico. Didn't even know what racing was, to be honest with you, other than the Firecracker 400 that came on every year from Daytona. So.
Well, that's better than me. I mean, I was riding pine as a backup football player. As you can tell, I don't really have the build to be a football player, but I thought I did.
Yeah. Well, I played Little League football, but I sucked at it, so it was just more of a social hour aspect of it, I think, more than anything for us.
Yeah, something to do. So a great night of racing out there at the Madera Speedway. And, in the junior late models, like I mentioned, 11-year-old Vito Cancilla picking up the win, a name that you've gotten to know pretty well, Roy, with the Race for Research and all the micro sprint stuff, and his family kind of spearheading all of that. And he got his first junior late model win on Saturday.
11 years old, that is young to be in a late model. But then you saw that young man that picked up the win at Bristol in a dirt late model, and I think he's, a year older, or maybe 2. I don't know. He wasn't much older.
Well, Madera kind of pioneered all this stuff of having the kids in the pavement late models, and a lot of people kind of thought we were crazy for doing it. And now we're already to year 8 of this series. And so I want to show you. So we had some great footage that we captured for our MAV TV broadcast out there at Madera Speedway. And the first thing I was going to show you guys is there was some great battling in the junior late model race for the second position. And check out this great pass from Chase Hand out there at Madera.
He's got a really nice cushion. As a huge crossover move by Chase Hand, that was something out of Le Mans or Daytona, going into turn 1 at Daytona. What on earth was that? That's the move of the century right there by the 27 Chase.
So you probably heard me mentioning Le Mans and Daytona. Well, Chase Hand, his dad, Joey Hand, the Ford road racing superstar who races all over the world, and they got his son in a late model, and that's a pretty nifty pass right there at Madera.
Yeah, these young kids are awesome. I'm telling you, I never watched the asphalt race until this past year watching the junior B4s, and they're so talented at the junior stingers at Coos Bay. It's awesome to watch these young kids race. And if it's any indication, I think we have a pretty solid crop of youngsters coming up.
Yeah, it was a very young victory lane at Madera. So again, junior late models, 11-year-old Vito Cancilla. In the pro late models, 17-year-old Robbie Keneally picking up the win. In the Bandoleros, Andrew Williams was the winner. I don't know how young he is. I think he's like 10 maybe. And then the
Holy
Legends,
cow.
and then the Legends Tour Series was Ethan Nascimento at 15 years old. So all together, a 17-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 15-year-old. And those were the 4 main event winners on Saturday.
So I have to say something about Ethan Nascimento there. We did the show last year with Stockton 99 doing all that stuff, and I had to figure out how to pronounce his name. So that's one that stuck in my mind because it's like I'm reading the list and it's like, okay, good names, good. I can figure these out. Then got to that, and it was like, uh-oh.
So in the junior late models, Cancilla kind of ran away with it, but the pro late models, Keneally got kind of, I wouldn't want to say lucky, but he sort of benefited from the top 2 taking each other out. And I got video of that as well, so let's take a look at that.
Leader is that 29 of Armtrout, the junior champion, as they work it through 3 out of 4. A couple of black Camaros lead them back to green.
Side by side out of turn number 2. Sheldon Cooper on the high side, get a little loose, but he holds on to it. Armtrout there. The one came
Cooper and Armtrout get together, and the 1 is in it. The 5 is in it. I think they're going to be able to keep going, but a lot of damage on the 29 of Brody Armtrout. Cooper bounced off the wall into the 29 up, nosed in together, and then everybody was slipping and dipping to get around them.
Mitchell in the mix.
And it's going to be a white flag for the 1K of Robbie Keneally. He won twice in the junior late models last year to have a heartbreaking tie in the standings to finish second as a junior, but he will be first as a pro. The winner of the Madera Speed Fest for $5,000 to win is Robbie Keneally.
So there's a look at some of the excitement in the pro late models, Roy.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know what the pro late models are. I haven't seen them race. I've seen the Stockton late models. They got a class, and I know they're a little bit different, but it's always exciting to watch those.
Yeah. Well, and the biggest thing about pavement racing for the longest time is we had them on those slick tires, and really it was just hooked up, a lot of grip. And as you know, the less grip, the more sliding and battling and passing you're going to have. And so we've put them on a rock hard tire from Hoosier. That's all about getting them to slide around. And you can see they're really sliding around out there.
Yeah, it looked like that's what it was. It just like there wasn't traction under the guy when he got a little sideways right there. He was coming through and he just kind of bobbled there just a little bit. It looks like he got excited coming off the corner.
So one more piece of footage from Madera, and then we'll run through the rest of our results. And another division that you got to get familiar with last year for all of our fans on Speed Union TV and for the Racing with Lavoti show is the Legends cars. And one of the Stockton area drivers, Wyatt Sansom, with a rather serious crash. And so we'll show you that crash here on our Up on the Bars West Coast Racing News.
Buddy Winchell from upstate up in the Lakeport area. From Sebastopol, the 3 of Zach Sansom from the Stockton area, and the 24 of Page from the Bakersfield area. They are from all over California.
Yeah, all 3 points of California, boy. I tell you, right in the front, down south, up north, or right in the middle. And it's exactly how they say, oh, car off the track, hard in the wall.
Oh, and that's the other Sansom. So one of them's in the lead, and one of them just pounded the wall. Wyatt Sansom, former Bandolero racer here in Madera.
So pretty big hit there, Roy.
Yeah, and I saw a little something about it. I'm glad to hear that he's doing okay. I know he sustained some injuries. I don't know what we can talk about or not talk about, but I'm glad to know he was sort of okay when it was all said and done.
Yeah, nothing life-threatening, nothing head injury-wise or anything like that. So it does say a lot about the safety of those cars, but they're small little race cars. So, you know, if you wreck your pro stock, there's a lot of room and body work around you to kind of absorb that. A Legends car doesn't have that, right?
Right. And you mentioned a name right there at the beginning that I remember very much from last year watching the Legends, Cody Winchell. Really cool guy. Got to do some stuff with him. Very cool guy there. Got to meet and hang out with him. So glad to see him out and racing.
Yeah, that was your champion from last year in the Legends. And just like in the Pro Late models, he got dumped from the lead. And I have to call it what it was. It was kind of a dumping. And it's that part of the Red Seas for Ethan Nascimento to get the win. So that's a look at your Madeira video that we have. Roy, I don't know if you have the sheet in front of you, but we'll kind of go back and forth. And we'll run through some of the big results over the weekend in short track racing on the West Coast. And starting off with Placerville Speedway. That event was a big one for them. The 360 sprint cars with a photo finish. Justin Sanders picking up the win there at Placerville.
Yeah. Then we have the Extreme Scaffolding Late Model Series. Matt McKelly. Matt McKelly's raced with us in the Tri-State Pro Stocks, driving Ira Compton's car. Super Stock champion at Placerville, I think. I'm not sure what all he's done there. It's no surprise to see his name at the top of the field there.
Yeah, and a little bit of a light field. I think they were kind of gearing up for the stuff they're doing the next couple of weeks, and we'll talk about that. In the pure stocks, maybe you can answer this question for me. Nick Baldwin gets the win, and he's so strong. I would hope we'll see him on the West Coast Hobby Stock Tour this year.
So my understanding, I don't know if he has a hobby stock. The pure stocks at Placerville are way more advanced than the hobby stock tour rules, so they're not racing. So I don't know if Nick, I know his name. I don't know if he'll be racing with them or not, but that's one of the classes. They went back and forth with getting a date at Placerville, and that's something that went along with that. So I don't think he'll be on the hobby stock tour unless he has a hobby stock himself.
Well, and you'll remember that our first ever broadcast for Speed Union, he got the win at Stockton Dirt Track a year ago.
Right.
And then our wingless sprint cars at Placerville to Josh Young. We'll go over to Marysville Raceway, the 360s, and it seems like Marysville has become the track where all the Outlaw Kart kids go. So a young kid that's been kind of moving up the ranks, getting the win, was Dawson Holmes picking up the win in the 360s.
All right, then we go to the crate sprints. And I'm excited to announce this because I know it's a brand new car for her, and she's always fun and entertaining to go back and forth with JB. Misty Steinach Castleberry picked up her win in her brand new crate sprint. So congratulations, Misty.
And a really big hobby stock field there on kind of a last minute deal. Their hobby stocks are so deep there. And Zach Lindgren, it doesn't matter how many cars show up, he's in victory lane just about every time up there.
Well, in Sport Mods, Philip Shelby picked up the win. I got to know Philip Shelby over the last couple of years, seeing him at Susanville and some of the other tracks where he's running. Super nice guy, fun to hang out and talk to in the pits. And I know he's had a lot of success. He drove Robert Hims modified and picked up a win or two in it. And while we're mentioning Robert Him, I want to wish them all a quick recovery and his wife speedy recoveries from her injury. They had a tree fall on them night before last on their house, and I think she broke a couple of bones, but they're all doing well. And Donnie Richardson, several other people have pitched in to get the tree out of their house and get some warmth back in the house. So hope that heals up pretty quick, Robert, and hope you all back out of there real soon.
So we'll go down to Mojave Valley Raceway down there in Arizona. That's a track that I want to go see. It looks like just the perfect racetrack, a 1/3 mile. Easily 3 cars wide, and just a 1/3 mile is a perfect size. And that track is a really good geographical location, halfway between Laughlin and Lake Havasu, Arizona, right along the Arizona, California, and Nevada border. And we had our Western Midgets there, and you'll see them on Speed Union April 1st on the Antioch part of Speed Union. But we had 22 of the Western Midgets there, and Drake Edwards of Surprise, Arizona, picking up the win.
Well, and I'm seeing IMCA, and yes, I said IMCA and not IMCA, so let's make sure I get that right. It says everybody gives me crap about that. IMCA modified Jake Pike. That's a name you see up there all the time.
So there were some of these races, there were some other divisions, but kind of focusing on the divisions that have some names that we'll know. And that modified race was actually a really big race. They had Troy Morris III was racing in that. The winner of the Pettit Shootout last year. They paid $1,000 to win, and with Bakersfield raining out, they actually had a pretty big field. I think they had about 20 cars. We'll go to the Blacktop. We'll go back to the Blacktop. They seem to be better at managing the weather with their facilities. And we'll look at the Irwindale Speedway, and they have a junior late model division as well. Bob Brancotti from the ARCA West sold all his ARCA West cars and decided to put together a bunch of little late models for kids. And from what we can tell, I think he's kind of helping the kids financially to make it happen. They had a 5-car field, and, well, you get to be in the record books as the first ever winner. Charlie Carty picking up the win. Go-kart racer got himself a late model win.
And they ran Legends down there at Irwindale this weekend, too, and it looks like Jake Ballman picked up the win. I think that's how you pronounce it. If I missed it, sorry.
And, Jake Ballman, a really talented young driver. And then the pro late models, both races were swept by Lenny White. And part of what's worked out for Lenny White is, of course, he had the shot fire about a year ago, and they went and had to get some new race cars, and they purchased the 2021 championship winning car from Madeira, and that's proven to be a red hot ticket for Lenny White. Got a win at Havasu, and now already has 3 Irwindale wins just this year in that car. So Lenny White is off to a pretty hot start. We'll go to Red Bluff. Just want to feature a couple of divisions there. The Open Outlaw 500s, Landon Brooks picking up the win.
And in the Sportsman's, you got Eric Gannon.
Yeah, and those two, they're in victory lane just about every time. And that wrapped up the point season for them. And
I have to ask, since we're talking about Red Bluff, and I know, was Tanner Holmes and Carly Holmes there, and how did they do? I had to follow up because they're local drivers.
Well, I'll pull it up for you right now while we're chatting here. And I have to say that pretty much it's like between Jesse Caldwell, Landon Brooks, and Tanner Holmes, they kind of go back and forth in the 500s. It was Landon Brooks picking up the win. Carson Souza second. There's Jesse Caldwell in third, and Tanner Holmes was fourth. So, like I said, they kind of go back and forth, those couple of drivers. And in the points there at Red Bluff, Jesse Caldwell got the edge on Brooks and Holmes in the 500s. So, pretty good season for Jesse Caldwell.
If you're keeping up with Carly, she did a YouTube video here in the last couple of weeks. She went for her last visit on her back injury she sustained. She's back into a car. She's getting things run. She's run some kart races, and I know she's going to be doing some 360 racing. And if I understand correctly, she's going to do 1 or 2, maybe 410 races.
Wow, that's a big step for her. So, last of the tracks that ran this weekend was Dixon Speedway. And I wanted to give a real salute to the junior sprints. They had 17 of them, and that's how you're going to grow the sport, right? And Maya Malden picking up the win there.
And in the non-wings, you got, I'm going to destroy this name, Jeffrey Pahul.
Yeah, pretty close. Pahuli getting the win.
Okay.
There. And then everybody was rained out in the micro world except for Dixon. So Bakersfield's Nathan Ward traveled up there and won the restricted main event.
In the Super 600s, where's Jeffrey Pahuli?
Yeah, so he swept the night. So for the kid out of Brentwood, that's a good night for him. And then we'll fast forward to our lineup of races this weekend. And there's actually a lot of tracks that are going to give it a go. Sun is shining in my office right now, so hopefully we're good to go. We'll start off with the Las Vegas Bull Ring. And it's going to be their educational spring break night at the races. So should have a lot of kids out there at Vegas.
Then Kern County Raceway Park is running the SRL Winter Showdown. Seth Wise is pulling double duty, it says.
Yeah, running the pro late model and then running his debut in the super late model. He is well overdue for that. Very, very talented driver out of Bakersfield and someone I'm going to try to get as a guest on your show here eventually, Roy.
So I have to ask, because I know somewhere down in this area, we just had a young man pick up a win in Xfinity from down in that area, didn't we? Didn't that young man need me from the Bakersfield down south area?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot now. I'll have to think about this. I know that we had a big win in ARCA for a driver out of Vegas, and that is something we'll be talking about on our upcoming races this weekend.
Okay.
You're going to rack my brain on that one. I'll have to think about that.
I'm going to go back. You go ahead and talk about the next one. I'm going to go back and see who it won because it was in Phoenix.
Well, yeah, like I said, in the I know in the ARCA, the Phoenix win was a Vegas driver. But anyway, we'll take a look at that. And so what's interesting is at Kern Raceway this weekend in the Super Late models, there will be multiple Colorado drivers in the field. You know, Colorado, they don't start for a couple weeks. $10,000 to win for the Super Late models. So you'll have the super late models, the pro late models, and the modifieds all racing at Kern County Raceway this weekend. And then we'll kind of fast forward to Madera while you're pulling your stats here.
Sammy Smith was a young man.
And so Sammy Smith, actually, I'm going to tell you right now, is a driver out of the Georgia area.
Okay, I was wrong.
So Madera this weekend, what they run is they run a second like late model division that's not the televised series. It's like kind of a separate point standings. They call them the club late models. And so they'll be racing all the weekly divisions, all the Toyotas and hobby stocks and stuff. And then the Legends of Kearney Bowl, the vintage super modifieds. And what they routinely do at Madera is they allow the junior late model drivers to run with the adults in the club races. So 11-year-old Vito Cancilla and 12-year-old Taylor Mayhew are going to run with the adults this weekend at Madera.
You know, I want to see one of those kids win, but I know it's going to suck because the adults are going to be – that's a hard pill to swallow when them young folks come in and whoop up on you. So we've seen it happen a lot. But, hey, it gives them a chance to hone up on their skills and stuff like that. And the Legends of Kearney Bowl, those are awesome to see race out there. I enjoy them every time I've seen them.
Yeah, kind of a rolling museum. They don't want them to race at 100%. They race at about 75%. And then if you're like Sargent or some of these other guys that want to race hard, they kind of run their own race separately from the rolling museum of the Legends of Kearney Bowl.
Yeah. Well, and then we go up to Red Bluff. They got another race this weekend, the Outlaw Nationals. I don't know much about that race. I know there's some history in that one, so I'll let Stephen tell about the history of that race.
Well, it's one of the oldest outlaw kart races that there is. They actually said that in the article, and then later in the article never really told me when. It's something like 40 years, pushing almost 40 years for that event. And it actually starts today. So it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it's a very busy weekend out there at Red Bluff. And then Paris Auto Speedway, they're going to try to get their season up and running with the USAC CRA sprints, the 410s on the half mile. And, you know, I'll be in LA April 15th weekend. And Paris is running that weekend, and it's a bit of a haul to get out there from LA. It takes about an hour with traffic, but I still may try to do that. I've been there once before, you know, gnawing sprint cars on a half mile is pretty spectacular.
Well, and then we go to Placerville Speedway, and they got I had to say this slowly, the SCCT Sprint Cars, Sprint Car Challenge Tour Series. Scott and Cammie Russell have put together a really good series with that, and I know they'll have probably 30 sprint cars over there for that. And the bull ring at Placerville is pretty exciting with the sprint cars from everything I've seen. Well,
they had a photo finish last week, so that kind of raises the bar of what we could expect. We should have some pretty good racing there. And then Marysville, so what happens with the SCCT tracks, of course, a lot of our viewers will know this, but some may not, is if you're an SCCT track, if you're part of that sprint car challenge, you don't run sprint cars when they're running. So Marysville, they'll be running the Extreme Limited late models as their headliner class. And so I think when you look at Placerville last week, they only had, I think, 7 cars take the green flag for their local late model. I think some of the guys might have been gearing up for Marysville. So that ought to be a really good race this weekend.
Yeah, and Mike Slaney's done a very good job with putting together that Extreme Late Model Series. So I know they've got 3 or 4 cars in their shop. I'm not sure how many they'll be bringing with them, but they I've seen pictures of their shop working on them. They're doing a lot of work on cars in the shop.
Yeah, and I'll grab this one because I got a little note on this. Is the Arca Menards East. And you probably would be wondering, why on earth are you guys on the West Coast site talking about the East? Well, because there's going to be some West Coast flavor in that. Southern California driver Sean Hingorani, but then most notably Las Vegas's Tyler Reif is going to travel out there after winning at Phoenix last week. He's only 15 years old, and it is a car owned by a team in Vegas, so they're towing all the way out there with 2 cars, and that race will be live on Flow. And then also we've got a little buddy there, a friend of ours, Zachary Tinkle, who will be running in the East Series full-time, a young man out of Indiana. He's a good friend of one of your buddies. He's good friends with Brayton Laster.
Yep.
And so I wonder if Brayton will go down there and help pit crew that car. But anyway, Zachary Tinkle. So some faces and some names that we're familiar with. You remember the Hingorani name, right?
I do. I remember trying to pronounce it and screwing it up a lot.
So it's interesting, just a lot of West Coast flavor. And one of the reasons is the East and the West, they don't have any conflicting dates. So Tyler Reif out of Las Vegas, Sean Hingorani out of Southern California, they're going to run both series full time. Must be nice.
And that's a lot of traveling, especially if you're going in a motorhome. It's a long trek from Las Vegas to Florida, just so you know.
Yeah, I think you would know better than me on long tracks.
Yeah, and then to close it out, it looks like we have racing at Havasu 95 Speedway with the Radical Focus Midget Nationals.
Yeah,
I know what the Focus Midgets are, but that's a mouthful.
Yeah, so what's really cool about that is, again, the East Coast isn't really completely up and running yet. So for this event, at least in the past, a lot of North Carolina and Virginia drivers come out. And so they'll run a main event Friday and a main event Saturday. And the Saturday main event is a 50-lapper. So that's kind of like the big pavement midget race in America, probably. And you'll have drivers from all over the place there. So good luck to all of them.
Yep. Well, and we kind of turned it over, did it a little bit different. Me and Steven have talked about doing a weekly, I don't even want to call it a wrap-up show, like a highlight show that he's been doing in the past, combining with all the racing on the West Coast. And I had something going on for tonight, and with Robert Him and his incident going on, that kind of got pushed to the back end. So we said, let's just get on here and play around today. So Steven went together and got all the highlights and stuff over the weekend. We're looking forward to doing the show on a regular basis. He started one with the control center where we narrow it down very quickly with tracks that are on Speed Union. You're going to start seeing us a lot more through all of this stuff. But I also want to say next Thursday night, you want to tune in to Up on the Bars. We have Sir Lawrence O'Connor, Canadian modified driver, coming on, and I'm excited to get that one out there and talk about him. Lyle's working on a particular guest to come on. I know he's a big name out here on the West Coast, if we can get that one put together. Jay will come on here periodically. He likes coming on here and talking. He's up in Alaska today. He went up to go see his sister in Alaska, so they're taking care of some stuff up there. Our stuff with the Tri-State, April 8th is maybe our official kickoff if it doesn't get rained out in Hanford, Keller Auto Speedway. That's opening night for Southern Oregon Speedway. I don't know what else is going on April 8th. I know there's racing at Antioch.
Yeah, so we'll have, it looks like for Speed Union TV that our upcoming schedule is, I think April 1st, you'll see us live from Antioch with the Western Midget Racing and all the IMCA classes, as you would call them. And then April 8th, it gets really busy for us with Southern Oregon Speedway and their season opener, which will have IMCA Modifieds, Sport Modifieds, and the IMCA Sport Compacts, plus the dwarf cars and all that stuff. And then you'll be down at Hanford with Tri-State Pro Stocks. And then April 14th and 15th, we'll be at the Kern County Dirt Track with the Western States Dwarf Car Association. And we'll have coverage from Southern Oregon, and we'll have coverage from Antioch. So we're off to the races. I think April is when things are going to get really busy on Speed Union. And you can see all those races, Roy, for $20 a month.
Yes. And we're going to get $20 worth of entertainment. We're going to mention Willamette Speedway's coming on board in April too. Then we have the Coors Light Silver Bullet Series that we're covering. Lots of racing on Speed Union TV this summer. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of racing. So
yeah, we'll be close to 100 events. We did over 60 this year, and we've added stuff. So I think we'll get up there if the weather cooperates. But just, Antioch alone, Roy, is like a 30 race schedule. So just their schedule is a big addition to what we had. We had 60 last year with only 3 from Antioch. So
right. Well, and this year we're looking at doing some stuff. We listened. We started last year. We've learned a lot. We're working to build up some stuff. There's going to be a lot of stuff to cover up the downtime for the intermissions, things like that. We're going to try to have plenty of driver interviews for your local drivers to listen to, out-of-town drivers coming for the big events. Speaking of big events, the R. Charles Snyder Salute. We got to talk about that. 7,007 to win, 707 to start. IMCA Sport Modifieds. Biggest sport modified race on the West Coast. And I think somewhere right around the same time, within a couple of weeks, another massive race for IMCA Sport Modifieds in Oregon. IMCA Sport Modifieds, you better step up your game. You better support it because the promoters are putting it out there. They're saying, hey, come run with us. We got you covered.
Yeah, and really looking forward to having 4 weekends of the Western States Dwarf Car Association Nationals on our calendar this year with Kern, Quincy, Petaluma, and Antioch. And also really want to tip my hat to Antioch. They got some big events this year. Of course, May 13th, the Larry DeMitz Memorial, which will have the Hobby Stock Tour presented by Speed Union TV and the Tri-State Pro Stocks presented by Jay Bryant's Mobile Welding.
And Speed Union TV.
Yeah, so that'll be an awesome night. And they've got memorial races all throughout the year with the Hetrick Memorial, the Chet Thompson Memorial, and we'll have coverage of all of those on Speed Union TV. So really, really can't wait to hit the ground rolling in April with all these great events, Roy.
Yeah, it's exciting, and I can't wait to kick off the season. And don't forget, tune in next Thursday night at 7 p.m. as we bring on Sir Lawrence O'Connor from Canada to talk about modified racing all over the West Coast. He doesn't know it yet, but I got some backstories about him that are going to be pretty fun to talk about. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, looks like at least for me, I will not be in a race this weekend, and you'll be up digging out of snow this weekend.
Yeah. So
the following weekend, it gets busy for us.
Look at some of the new and exciting colors coming out. I don't know if you can see that. That's kind of a metallic. I just seen that come out. That's from says Edge Graphics. This beautiful car. Wow. It's got the mirrored finish. I have never seen one like that. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Here, I'll take the opportunity while we're going here, and I'll throw up the Tri-State schedule if I have it. Here we go.
Yep.
We'll toss that up there and kind of take a quick look at it, and then get people on the road here. As again, I think this weekend gonna be a quiet weekend, but Speed Union TV gonna kick off in full force April 1st at Antioch with the Western Midget Racing Series in attendance, plus all the IMCA classes. And really looking forward to this Tri-State schedule you see on the screen there. And of course, you can put an X through Stockton Dirt Track, but then we really get off onto it with Hanford. And then we'll kind of, from a Speed Union perspective, skip ahead to Antioch. And then really looking forward to Memorial Day weekend at Medford. So a lot of things to look forward to this season here on Speed Union TV.
Well, and I got to give mention, we're talking about the Tri-State. For the last 4 years, everybody has been on us to book a date, and we just hadn't got it accomplished. We're hitting Silver Dollar Speedway for the first time this year, too. So first time attendance for Chico Silver Dollar Speedway. I know that's going to be a big show. That is one, honestly, everybody has wanted us to book, and we just didn't get it accomplished. We tried last year, and it just didn't work out with Brad and Kobe and the guys over there. And then this year, it kind of did. So we're there for the first time. We're back at the Budweiser Nationals, hoping it's not the last Budweiser Nationals, but
fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. Fingers crossed that it's not the last Budweiser Nationals. But we have a couple of other dates in Stockton. I know one of them is with the NARC 410s and the Hunt Magneto Wingless Series. I believe that's in August.
That's the August 26th on there, I think.
Yep. So big races. Then we have the Elliott Memorial Race at Petaluma in September. So that's always a great race to go and attend. So lots of big races for the Tri-State this year. And that was a lot of work to get those in there. And we can't go any further without saying thank you to all the sponsors that we got on there, like Lyle Hopper, Winning Attitude Motorsports, Robert Baker, VIP Medical Concierge, Jay with Speed Union TV and Jay's Mobile Welding and Fabrication, Rick Workman, Workman's Communication. Rick is stepped up over 20 cars, 300 to start. So that's it. Jay Sears is bringing some people together with him, or not Jay Sears, Travis Peterson Racing. He's got several people that he's brought on board. One of them is Verdi Local Distillery. They've been with us for the last 2 years. They always give away a nice bottle of handmade liquor from their private stash for each race. So that's always a cool thing. Richard Brace and his dad, Dick Brace at Brace Muffler and Welding have put together a $100, I believe it's a hard charger award for every race. So we brought on Scribner Plastics, thanks to Steven right there. She's coming on board. PEM, Pyrotech, they're just all out there. There's lots of stuff coming to the Tri-State Pro Stocks this year. So very excited for that.
Yeah, looking like it's going to be a great season. And again, you saw our motto there on the flyer. This is our 2023 season where our goal is live racing for racers.
Yes.
So we're trying to put on shows that really get back to the racer, featuring every driver in the pits, from the 20th guy in the hobby stocks to the race winner in the sprint cars and everything in between. So, Roy, I want to thank you for coming together with me and doing this West Coast Racing News review. And can't wait to be at the races April 1st at Antioch. And we'll see you at the races, Roy.
Yeah, we'll see you at the races. So, and we'll see all of you out there listing at the races. So, see y'all next Thursday on here with Lawrence O'Connor. And you got control tonight. I'm just sitting over here riding in the passenger seat.
Yeah, I'm going to hit eject, and we'll see you.